Welcome to the first episode of Campfire Tales. I am so excited to kick off this experimental project where I sit down on a weekly basis and tell a new myth or tale and then briefly go into the mythology and symbolism. So, our first story that I'm going to tell might be familiar to you. It's a Brazilian folk tale collected by Elsie Spicer Els that mirrors the tale Puss in Boots, made popular by Charles Perrault. This is the story of Domingo's cat. Once upon a time, there was a man who was very poor. He was so poor that he had to sell one thing after another just to get food and keep from starving. After a while, though, there was nothing left except his cat. And he was very fond of his cat. And he said, "Oh, cat, let come what will. I'll never part with you. I would rather starve." The cat replied, "Oh, good Master Domingo, rest in peace. You will never starve as long as you have me. I am going out into the world to make a fortune for us both." Domingo wasn't sure what the cat meant, but the cat went out into the jungle and dug and dug and dug. Every time he dug, he turned up silver pieces. The cat took a number of these home to his master so that he could purchase food with them. The rest of the pieces of silver, though, he carried to the king. The next day, the cat dug up pieces of gold and carried them to the king. And then the next day after that, when he dug, he found diamonds. He took them to the king. "My, where do you get these rich gifts? Who is sending me such wonderful presents?" asked the king. The cat replied, "It is my master Domingo, sir." Now the king had a beautiful daughter, and he thought that this man, Domingo, must be the richest man in the whole kingdom. He decided that his daughter should marry him at once. He made arrangements for the wedding through the cat. When the cat arrived home and told Domingo, he said, "I haven't any clothes to wear at the wedding." "Never mind about that. Just leave it to me," replied the cat. The cat went to the king and said, "O king, there has been a terrible fire in the tailor shop where they are making the wedding garments of my master. The tailor and all of his assistants have burned to death, and the entire outfit of my master Domingo was destroyed. Hasn't your majesty something you could lend him to wear at the wedding?" The king sent the richest garments which his wardrobe could afford, and then Domingo was clothed in a state ready for the wedding. "But I have no palace to which to take my bride," Domingo told the cat. "Never mind about that. I'll see about it at once," replied the cat. The cat went into the forest to a great castle where a giant dwelt. He marched straight up to that giant and said, "Oh, giant, I wish to borrow your castle for my master Domingo. Will you not be so kind as to lend it to me for a little while?" The giant was very much insulted. "No, I will not lend my castle to you or your master Domingo or anyone else," he shouted in a most terrible and frightening voice. "Well, okay then," replied the cat. He changed the giant to a piece of bacon in a twinkling of the eye and devoured him on the spot. The palace of the giant was a very wonderful palace. There was a room decked with silver, one decked out with gold, one decked with diamonds, and a beautiful river flowed by the garden gate. As Domingo and his bride sailed down the river to the garden gate in the royal barge, they saw the cat sitting in the window singing. After that, they never saw him again. He disappeared in the jungle and went to make some other poor man rich. Perhaps he will come your way someday. Quem sabe? Who knows, as they say in Brazil. I invite you now to think about what images from the story stuck out to you. What struck you? And I encourage you to explore those images and what they might be trying to tell you in further depth. But I want to get into the symbology of this story. So first we have the cat. So the cat is the central figure, and it represents resourcefulness, loyalty, and the capacity to transform circumstances through wit and, yes, magic. It serves as both a protector and an enabler of Domingo's success. From a Jungian perspective, the cat acts as a trickster archetype, or maybe even a psychopomp, a guide between the unconscious and conscious realms. It also embodies a bit of Domingo's shadow, like the hidden potential, courage, even the ingenuity, which the cat is relying on to change their lives. And in depth psychology, the cat symbolizes the transformative power of intuition and instincts. It can also represent the inner ally or the guardian spirit that helps overcome adversity and achieve individuation. Now, the treasures, the silver, the gold, the diamonds. So these treasures signify abundance, hidden potential, rewards of faith and patience and hard work. They also reflect the materialization of inner wealth into outer success. And from the Jungian perspective, the treasure symbolizes the psyche's resources that are often buried deep in the unconscious. They become accessible when one is willing to trust in unexpected allies, like the cat. Silver, gold, and diamonds also symbolize the alchemical process of turning base elements, representing poverty, into spiritual or material gold. In depth psychology, these treasures suggest the wealth of possibilities within the unconscious, and the act of digging mirrors the process of self-exploration, where your effort unearths inner truths. Then we get to the giant. The giant represents obstacles, power, greed. It can also be seen as a manifestation of external challenges or internal fears that we must overcome. In the Jungian perspective, the giant symbolizes the shadow, particularly its inflated and overwhelming aspects. And by confronting and outsmarting the giant, Domingo and his cat integrate fears and limitations into his psyche, which allow for growth and success. In depth psychology, the giant is considered a gatekeeper of transformation. He's guarding the riches of the unconscious, which in this story can be seen as the castle. And the cat's act of devouring the giant signifies this dissolution of egoic resistance to change and the reclaiming of inner strength. The castle. So the giant's castle, as I just said, is a symbol of achievement, prosperity, ultimate transformation. Its opulent rooms reflect the culmination of efforts and rewards of courage and cunning. And from the Jungian perspective, the castle can be seen as the self, the harmonious integration of all parts of our psyche. And each room that's decked with the precious materials symbolizes the multifaceted wealth of an integrated personality. The depth psychology approach looks at the castle as a manifestation of individuation. It represents the inner kingdom, where the conscious and the unconscious are unified, leading to stability, fulfillment, and success. Lastly, we have the disappearance of the cat. And the cat's departure represents the completion of the transformational journey. It signifies independence and the idea that the protagonist, Domingo, no longer needs his external guidance. From a Jungian perspective, the cat's disappearance actually parallels the end of a mentor archetype's role, Once the hero achieves individuation or mastery, the guide then retreats, symbolizing self-reliance or the transfer of wisdom. And in depth psychology, the cat's departure emphasizes the cyclical nature of transformation and the possibility of renewal for others. It also reflects the archetype of the wandering helper, a force of change that appears only when needed and then disappears after achievement has been met. So, this was the story of Domingo's cat and the symbology of some of the items within the story. I hope that this little experiment has you as excited as it has me working through all of these myths and stories. And I would love to know what you thought of the story, what you thought of the symbology present in it. All right, until next time, bye.